Come on in, family. Come on in. Come on in. Come on. Come on. Let's get it. Come get some of this good stuff. Come get some of this good stuff. I got something really important to talk about today because a lot of people deal with this subject. Like, I'm not going to say 100% of people, but 99.9% of people deal with this. And we want to dispel a few myths today. We want to give you some encouragement today. And we want to send you on your way to go do great things because a lot of you are stopped. You know greatness is over here, but you keep getting here and you stop. You know everything you ever want is over here, you stop. So today we want to talk a little bit about why you're doing that, or one of the reasons you may be doing that. So I'm led to talk about this because I deal with this a lot in my life, and when I finally got over the hump, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So I want to encourage you on today to listen in, come on in, tell a few people to come join us. Like, share, comment. Let's have some fun. Let me wet my whistle first. Oh, that's good water. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Norris Williams. I'm an investor and motivator at NorrisNetwork.com, and I teach people how to make more money in whatever it is that they're doing, whether they're entrepreneur, whether they just want to make a little extra money with what they're doing. I teach the mindset behind doing that. I don't necessarily teach the mechanics. I normally let other people teach the mechanics part because mechanics is easy to find. By mechanics, let me tell you my formula. My formula for wealth building is mindset plus mechanics. It's mindset plus mechanics. And the mechanics part is you see all kind of videos on YouTube about how to invest in stocks, how to invest in bonds, how to invest in real estate, how to maximize your 401k, how to maximize annuities, how to clean up your credit, how to maximize your credit. All those are the mechanical ways of making money. But the only thing that makes that mechanical stuff work for you is when your mindset works for you. And so many of us have an undeveloped mindset. It's not that it's weak, it's just undeveloped. You don't exercise it like muscles. You got to exercise muscles for them to get bigger and stronger. But so many of us don't exercise our mindset. We just coast through life and settle for mediocrity. And those of you that follow me know one of my number one sayings is mediocrity is sin. Mediocrity is sin because you can't follow a great God, an enormous God, an infinite, omnipotent God, and you live mediocre. How does that even go together? That doesn't even match. But so many of us justify that mediocrity. That's just the way it is. That's what we say. That's how we justify it. That's just the way it is. No, that's the way you have decided to be. That's not the way it is. There are so many people out here doing great things that you don't know anything about. Yet you look at the people that are doing okay and you identify with them. Hey, I want to be with them. I want to be with the mediocre crowd. Now, you're not outright saying that, but your actions and your thoughts are telling us that mediocrity is okay with you. Now, if you're okay with that, then okay, fine. Go find somebody else to watch. Go do something else. This is not for you. This is for the go-getters or those who are transitioning into being a go-getter. This is for you. So I want to talk today about, there's a lot of people who don't want to try things. Let me take that back. They want to try. The screen says they're not good enough. Now, most people are not going to come out and say that. They're not going to be honest with you and come out and say that. They'll make up excuses around that to justify it, because if you have to look somebody in the face and tell them that you don't feel good enough, it kind of hurts a little bit. It kind of gives you a little bit of, I don't really want to be honest about that. So they'll justify it as, oh, I'm not lucky enough. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have this. People will make up excuses to cover up that fear, because to be honest and transparent about it makes you look really crazy. Or so we think it makes it look. So we think it makes us look crazy. It don't make you look crazy. It makes you look bold. It makes you an anomaly, because you know how many people are running from their fears. And if you were one of those people who actually run to your fears, you know how much you stick out from other people. And you know how many people are going to, let me use the word, hate on you because you face your fears, but they won't face theirs. And so many of us are afraid of outside ridicule. So many of us are afraid of what my mother might say, what my father might say, what my brother might say, what my sister might say, my boss, my colleague, my homie, my classmate. We're so afraid of what they may say. But you know what they may say means a hill of beans. It's what you say about yourself that determines where you're going in life. And if you're not where you want to be in life, it's because you're telling yourself the wrong stuff. You're feeding your mind the wrong food. You're feeding it some BS, but you're accepting that BS simultaneously. So something about wallowing in that, I believe it's, what's that comedian lady's name? They call her the godmother of Black Hollywood. I can't think of her name. I'm so sorry, ma'am. But she said, if you wallow in shit long enough, it doesn't stink anymore. If you wallow in shit long enough, it don't stink anymore. That's the craziest shit ever, but it's true. And so many of us are wallowing in shit and we're happy to be just like a pig. We're just wallowing in and we're cool with it. So today I want to talk about, when I was young in my career, a lot of people would want to ask you what qualifies you to do what you're doing. And more specifically, they want to know what qualifies you to charge the amount of money you charge. Because I'm not one of these Walmart providers, meaning my stuff, if you invest in yourself with me, you're going to feel it. It's not going to be Walmart money or Target money. You're going to spend some house note money to work with me because I have established myself at that point. And a lot of that came from, like I said before, when you come from the financial world into the speaking and training world, and you're used to dealing with $100,000, $500,000, $1 million accounts, when you come over here, talking money is not that big of a deal, and you establish what your value is. Now, of course, I have everything to back that value up, and I don't allow people to talk me out of that. And some people are not comfortable with that. But in every industry, there is the lesser expensive end, and there's the more expensive end, like shoes, purses, everything. There's even designer coffee mugs that cost $200. So it just depends on what end of the scale do you want to be on, and what result are you giving to the people you're offering your product or service to. That's really all it comes down to. But I want to talk about the heart of the matter. What qualifies me or anybody to do what they're doing? So I want to go over, and the whole purpose of me sharing this with you is because I want you to embrace these principles for yourself, no matter what you want to do. I don't know if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or a speaker and a coach like me, or an entrepreneur, real estate investor, whatever you want to do, it still comes back to you are the person before the profession. You are the person before the profession. The person informs the profession of how big and profitable they want to be. The person informs the profession how big and profitable they want to be. Write that down. So I'm going to use myself for an example, because I've been asked these questions before. So a lot of people say, well, Norris, what qualifies you to do what it is you do? You know what the number one answer I'd always give? Because I was called to do this. God told me this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm called to do this. And I stand all with 10 toes on, I'm called to do this and to charge the amount of money that I'm charged. I'm confident in that because I know I have all the resources behind me to deliver the product or service that needs to be delivered. I was called to this. Let me walk you through my life a little bit. I was kind of shy as a kid. I didn't really glow up, as the new phrase goes. I didn't really glow up to probably junior year in high school on through college, and really didn't glow up really till I got to Houston and got established. That's when I really, got to where I am now. But I remember, first thing I remember is, you go to church. We grew up Southern Baptist, so you do the Easter plays, the Christmas plays, Mother's Day play, whatever plays might be going on. So since I was able to speak well and carry myself well and lead the crowd well, I was always the narrator. So I was speaking at an early age. And I like doing that. I like being able to lead and make sure everybody is where they're supposed to be, and make sure to tell what the next scene is and introduce the people that may be speaking, and to start the program and end the program. So I got an early lesson on in structure and delivery and order, making sure the program goes according to how it's supposed to go, and having people follow you wherever you need them to go so that we all get a great result together. And I can see where later on in life that paid great dividends. So that's the first lesson I remember in that. I was always a leader of people. The second example I give is in football. I fell in love with football because that's really where I found myself. That's where I found my being. That's where I found my strength. And here's the thing. I wasn't one of the better athletes. I was okay. But like when your two best friends are the fastest people that probably ever came through the high school, and your little brother is one of the best athletes, even though he's a few years younger, he's one of the best athletes to ever come through. You have to learn how to use your other assets to equate the whole thing. So I always had to use my head to excel at stuff. they were such better athletes than I was, and I'm okay with that. So I had to figure out how to use my brain to make myself equivalent and to make my difference. And what I remember is I was always the guy that was in the middle of the huddle, yelling out loud, trying to get everybody to be motivated and be excited. And I was the guy in the middle. And in doing that, it's not something I had to try to do. It's not something I just knew when to do it. Because sometimes I wouldn't say anything, but other times I was rah rah rah, and I loved that. I mean, it gave me a sense of fulfillment. That's why at the very last game that we lost, I cried like a big old baby because I'm like, it's over. Like it's really over. We're riding such a high that when it finally came, I'm like, whoa, like all that was gone. And I tell the story later on, but I didn't keep going and like playing on through college. And like I've always said, that's been one of the bigger regrets in my life. But football was a blessing to me, like an absolute blessing to me. And I'll give another example of how it just comes to me. I've been in several meetings to where like we're just going through the meeting. You know how you have the meeting about the meeting and the meeting about the meetings meeting and the meeting about the meeting. I was always the guy to be like, hey, I would jump up and grab the dry erase and get on the dry erase boards that we need to do 1, 2, 3, boom, and be done, boom, and sit down and shut up. Because after you sit there 15, 20 minutes and you go through all the lollygag, and at some point you're like, what are we doing? Let's just get some results. I was always that guy to take the leadership role. I was always the guy that knew what to say and got people to move, and we all got a result together. I was always that person. I was given that skill set. And of course, I did the academic stuff too. I went and got 2 degrees. I got a master's degree. I was even a PhD candidate. I was going to do that, but I was like, I'm not going to school for that long. I'm just not doing that. I even went to law school for a little while. That didn't work out. But when I jumped into the coaching and speaking arena, I had such command of the stage and such command and such a presence that I didn't have to practice it. I didn't really have to prepare. It's just one of those things that God said, look, I'm going to take this software and download it into your hard drive, and this is what you can do. Now, you're 6'5", but you can't play basketball that well. You can't do the stereotypical stuff like singing and dancing and entertaining. You can't do that. But as far as teaching and coaching and speaking, you can do that with the best of them. That's what you do. Don't worry about what they do. I'm going to give them their gifts. I'm going to give them their talent, skill, and ability, but you are going to speak and motivate. That's what you're going to do. And on the way, we'll figure out a way for you to get paid for it, because there are other people doing it, getting paid for it too. But this is what you're going to do. Now, here's the thing. I tried to talk myself out of it for years. Like, no, I just want to be this finance guy. I just want to do business. I just want to do this over here and, stay behind the scenes. I just want to do this over here, because I didn't want the pressure of feeling like the people thought I wasn't qualified to do what I was doing. So I tried to sneak off and do other stuff and justify the sneaking off. But God was like, no, player, it's not. No, you come back over here. So yeah, okay, you can venture over there a little bit, but I'm gonna keep knocking, because you know what you're supposed to be doing. You know what you agreed to do. So I would venture over this way. Like, well, I want to be this businessman, mogul, such and such and such. Yada, yada. I'm going to do this. So I go over there and have a little bit of meager success. But every time it'll come back around to what I'm doing now. And God would knock again like, I got eternity. So you can figure this thing out. But I'm here. You already told me what you're supposed to be doing. I gave you everything you're supposed to be doing. You're worried about what you think people might think. And most of the time, what you think people might think is not what people think. It's just what you think. You hope they don't think. You can rewind and listen to that again. So finally I said, cool, fine. Okay, but I do understand the first 10 years of being finance. I do understand why I was there. I do understand the lessons that I had to receive while I was there. So that wasn't in vain, because I can see how mindset mixes with money in order for you to make all the money you could ever want. Now it makes perfect sense. So I had to go through that. And even though I had feelings of, because take for example, when I was first a financial advisor and I was a young dude, a lot of older people you would sit in front of would basically tell you, look, like I had one guy tell me, look, son, why should I listen to you? I have shoes older than you. And that hurt my little feelings. I was like, man. Then I had another guy, big account. Man, I went through I put the proposal together. We met about 3 or 4 different times. I had it all laid out. I even called some senior advisors to come in and help me. Like everything was laid. And he said, man, this is a great plan, such and such, all that kind of stuff. So you put together like the big old proposal, kind of like this. So I gave it to him. He was like, yeah, let me think about it, yada, yada, yada. Most of the time when they tell you got to think about it, they ain't coming back. Sometimes they will, but most of the time they ain't coming back. Let me tell you what this guy did. And that's when I decided, okay, enough is enough. This guy took my proposal that we met about 3 or 4 times, went to another firm down the street, handed to the guy, and said, I want that. The guy didn't have to do any work for it. He just said, give me what this guy proposed to me. You know the only reason why I know he did that? The guy was a friend of mine that he went to. So I get a phone call. The guy's name was Jeremy. Like, Norris, this is Jeremy. I'm like, what's up, Jay? We called him Jay. He was like, man, XYZ, you told me you were talking to XYZ, right? Yeah. Well, XYZ just left the office and asked me to give him what you gave him. And the reason why I know you gave it to him is because your name is on the proposal. So he was like, man, look, my boss and all them are making me do the business, but I feel some kind of way because, you and I are cool. I was like, Jake, go ahead and take the business, bro. Go ahead. Just go ahead and take it. He was like, well, I'll give you a referral fee. No, don't do that. If he doesn't want me to have his money that bad, let him take his ass on somewhere else. I never forgot that. And at that moment, I decided that I was never going to be emotionally attached to what anybody thought about me ever again, because the whole proposal, he was making me go through all kind of hoops and get this information and that information and canceling appointments. So I made myself a slave to him because he had some money to offer me and I still didn't get it at the end. And that was such, I could have punched this man in the face. I literally, and I'm not even a fighter like that. I'll defend myself, but I don't go out and I try to get along with everybody, have fun. That's me. But I wanted to punch this little man in the face, but I didn't. So it's been lessons like that along the way that kind of made me like, I'm not gonna say resistant. It made me hard. It hardened me toward stuff like attaching emotion to what people may think about you or what they might say about you. So at the point you just get where you don't care at all. So the first thing is, I know I'm called to do this. Let's see what our second thing is. Second thing is, I eat my own dog food. That's a sales phrase for everything that I went through in life. Everything that I've done to get here makes my product and service and offering authentic to me, and it shows the results that I've been through, and I know that it worked for me, so I know it'll work for you. So I don't go out and find some theory that's out there and come back and give it to you in hopes that it might work. Everything that I teach, everything that I lay out, all the theories that I have, like I just gave you one before about the mindset plus the mechanics. I didn't look that up. That's on me. I came up with that because I figured out along the way, this is what it is. It's 2 parts to this thing. I figured that out on my own, and I teach my own authentic stuff. Now, of course, as speakers, sometimes we'll borrow quotes and we'll borrow, like, tell stories and stuff like that. But the core of everything I teach is from my own experience and stuff that I lived through and stuff that helped me succeed. So nobody can tell me I'm not qualified from my own experience. And I want you to look at your life and where you have succeeded and have dignity and pride and a foundation in that, because there's a good friend of mine named Perry Belcher. He used to be called Ask Mr. Video. He's one of the internet's greatest video creators. And he said something in one of his speeches that should kill everything you have to say about not feeling good enough. He said, Norris, the 4th grader is God to the 3rd grader. Write that down. The 4th grader is God to the 3rd grader. So don't matter what other people are saying, because if you look at social media, everybody has an opinion on who can't do what and who should do what and who's not qualified to do what. But at the end of the day, there's no clearinghouse in the universe that says you're not good enough to do this. That's just other people. And sometimes you attract the insecurities in you will attract other people's opinions to you to reflect that until you overcome that. So a lot of that, when you see that stuff on social media, the only reason that bothers you that you're not good enough is because you're already feeling like you're not good enough. So when somebody says it or you see it, it magnifies it within you, but that's only your greater self saying the only reason it's still here is because we haven't nixed it. If we get rid of it, then when you're scrolling, that stuff will go by, you'll be blinded to it. It won't even affect you. When people are saying you're not qualified, you're not good enough, or people like you, or people in your industry, once you overcome that, you won't even see that. It'll be benign. It'll pass by. You might even laugh at it because you know you're good enough already. And nobody outside of you can determine if you're not good enough unless you agree with them saying you're not good enough. You got to agree with it for it to take place in your life. You got to agree with it for it to take anchor in your life. So if you agree with it coming in, you can also agree with it going out. So what's my third one? Oh, this is an easy one. I just stopped looking for approval. And whatever I felt like needed to be said or needed to be done or needed to be shared or published or spoken, I just did it. And you know how much pushback I received? Zero. That doesn't mean people are not going to argue with you. That does not mean people are going to disagree with you. But it's your interpretation of their feedback that makes a difference for you, not for them. It's your interpretation. So when somebody says, well, I don't agree with that, okay. Or if somebody says, you're not qualified to do this, okay, keep going. You know how many people that are ultra successful right now that somebody told them no along the way? I was looking at Shark Tank the other day, and I posted about this before. The guy that owns Ring Doorbell, he went on Shark Tank, and they told him no, every single one of them. Now, Mr. Wonderful offered a deal that was, I'll just say it was insulting. Mr. Wonderful offered him a deal that was absolutely insulting. So they all said, we don't see it, we don't understand it. Everybody can, anybody can copy this. We don't see the value in what you're doing. He said, fine, he left. Ring is $1 billion company right now. So you looking at all these experts and successful people, and you let where they are dictate how you feel about you and what idea you have. That's the craziest thing in the world, because it's okay. It's easy to look at hindsight, but most people don't have foresight. Most people can't say, you know what? The way the industry is going, the way the world is going, 5 or 6, 17 years down the road, this might be this. Only those people who have good foresight really cash in on opportunities like that. What if one of them would have said yes to Ring? There's so many other stories that you can look up on YouTube and see businesses that the sharks turned down that ultimately end up succeeding. It's a crazy number. Like the number is insane of how many businesses they said no to. But these are supposed to be the cream of the crop investor, business people or whatever, and that's fine. They have had a certain amount of success, but that has no determinant on what the universe has for you. You're so worried about them. Now, it's okay to take their advice. It's okay to listen. But you need to listen louder to that voice on the inside. You need to listen louder to that dream that you've been given, because they weren't there when you were given that dream. They weren't there. Your mama wasn't there. Your daddy wasn't there. Your brother wasn't there. Your teacher, none of them were there. Only you and your creator were there. So if the creator tells you this is what it is, this is what it's going to be, and that's what you need to put into motion. You're sitting at home, twiddling your thumbs, thinking about, oh, well, you excusing everything away. Well, maybe not. Well, maybe this. It's time to take some action. It's time to separate from those that don't. Those that do and those that don't are two different areas, two different sections. Take yourself away from those that don't. Surround yourself with those that do. Those are two different worlds to live in. Yes, they can live in the world simultaneously. You need to figure out, this time next year, are you still going to be doing the same shit this time next year or the next year or the next year? The crazy thing is, everybody watching this right now, a vast majority of you will be. 1 year from now, you'll be doing the same thing. You have the same complaints next year. You'll have the same problems next year. A big majority of you, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, will be doing exactly the same thing you're doing right now. And a lot of it is because of what it says right there. You don't feel like you're good enough. Nobody made you feel like you're not good enough. You chose to feel like you're not good enough. Nobody's making you. And I'm not excusing. I know that all of us had issues growing up, one way or the other, some worse than others. So I'm not skirting past any of that. But I need you to be able to look at it and say, hey, it's not what happened to me. It's how I reacted to what happened to me that's going to determine what kind of life I live right now. So I know some people have suffered from abuse, from depression, from drug addiction, being kicked out, being adopted, everybody has a story. But you know who the author of that story is? The person that's looking at me right now in this camera. You are the author of your story. So that means if you're the author of the story, and the story is still being written, you can change the story right now. You can change the story right now, and tomorrow can be totally different than today. But you know what happens? We want it right now. You spent 35 years screwing your life up, and you want it to change by tomorrow. Now, if it took 35 years for you to end up in hell, won't it take a couple more years for you to get out of hell? Yeah, of course it will. But you're not dedicated to that because it doesn't come right now. So you just excuse away and you stay in mediocrity. You stay in that whole pile of shit like we were talking about earlier. So I just stopped by here to tell you today, you are good enough already right now. Just because you don't have $1 million in the bank does not mean that you're not good enough right now. As a financial advisor who has managed billions of dollars in assets, I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who have millions of dollars that feel like shit about themselves. And the money don't make no difference because that's why they'll go out and they'll gamble and they'll have all kind of vices to try to soothe what's on the inside to make them feel better. So yes, I want you to make more money, but I want you to become the person to command that money. I want that happiness and that joy on the inside of you fulfilling your purpose to draw that money in, because money is looking for an assignment. It wants to come to you. Money don't run from you. We repel, we push it away. Money wants an assignment. You need to give it an assignment. That's going to be another lecture for another time, but money is looking for an assignment. So I just want to stop by here today to tell you, you are good enough. As a matter of fact, you're more than good enough. And I have tools and resources coming down the pipeline for you guys to get involved with me so we can go through the process of getting you to that point. It's not going to be cheap for you to get to that point when you feel like you're good enough and even more than good enough. So Norris Williams, investor motivator, thank you for joining me today. I have fun doing these. I'm going to do several of them, put them all over the internet, and whosoever will, let's go. These are more so conversations for me. This is not really a presentation. This is a conversation, because I feel a lot more excited when I feel like I'm talking to somebody as opposed to, hey, I have these 3 theories on this, and you should do this and this, and I have to, dot the I, cross the T, and carry the one. I feel comfortable just having a conversation with you, and I want you to take my words to heart, and even more so, I want you to take your life to that next level, that level that you thought was never possible. So join me every day. I'm going to be here. Like, share, comment. Tell your friends about me. I'm looking to make the community even better.